Good morning, everyone. Guys, thanks for joining me. If you've not done so already, please give us a like and a subscribe and a follow and those buttons down below. Really appreciate it when you guys do that. Sorry, guys, I forgot I've not put my banner on. Hang on, bear with me. There we go, guys. We look professional now. So we're going to be talking about this 3-year visa that Putin has said that he is going to give to people who want to move to Russia. Now, I think this is targeted at the American market and the American population. So Putin's basically come out and he said, if you subscribe to traditional family values, then Russia is the place for you. Guys, the short answer is I personally think this is propaganda. I think it's ideological subversion in its finest and most potent form. So if you look what's been happening and when I talk about ideological subversion, I always start it in 1962 when basically 1962 was the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis when Nikita, I want to say Nikita, but it's Khrushchev, he basically turned his ships around, averted nuclear war. It was a big disgrace in Russia because, the Cuban Missile Crisis was kind of when America and Russia were the closest they'd ever been to fighting. And a lot of the Russians are angry about that, especially Vladimir Putin, who was a young boy and he witnessed this. And he was at a very impressionable age. Now, I've done lots of videos talking about how we've got a group of boys in this country who are also at an impressionable age, and they're watching all this stuff happening. They're watching this stuff happening in the media, and we are, we really are have a generation of young boys who are going to be at an age in 20, 30 years, and they are going to be very, very, very defined by what's happening right now. That said, guys, we're talking about Russia. So let's have a look quickly at what's happening over in the big, what do we call it? What do we call Russia? I don't know. The big bear. Putin signs the decree granting residency to foreigners who share traditional Russian values. Vladimir Putin on Monday, so this is, I think about 2 weeks ago or something. Vladimir Putin on Monday signed a decree allowing foreign citizens and stateless individuals to apply for temporary residency in the country if they share Russian spiritual and moral values, even in cases when the person does not speak Russian. So that's really telling there, guys, just on the outset that, to apply for a visa in Russia, to be able to move to Russia, you need to be able to speak Russian. I don't know if that is, if that's something you have to do in the United Kingdom, but it would seem not. The decree states that those who oppose, here we go, guys, here's the propaganda, destructive neoliberal ideological agenda. Now, it's fantastic that the Russians have been pushing and pursuing the destructive neoliberal ideological agenda themselves. They've been pumping this thing into the United States, into the West, since the end of the Cuban Missile Crisis, basically, when, the Russians and the Soviet Union, as it was, they understood that they couldn't take on NATO, they couldn't take on the United States in a fist fight, so they started ideological subversion. And you see that everywhere you go, guys, okay? And my thoughts right now are, if you look at the United Kingdom, if you look at, what's his name? I forgot his name. Who's our Prime Minister? Keir Starmer. In my opinion, he is the most ideologically subverted Prime Minister we've ever had. So if you're trying to, escape neoliberal ideological agenda in their home country, you can seek humanitarian support from the Russian authorities by applying for a temporary residency permit. It's absolutely wild, guys, what they're doing. It also tasks the government and foreign ministry, this is going to be funny when it comes out, guys, of creating a list of countries Moscow considers to be pursuing destructive neoliberal agenda within 30 days. I can guarantee they're going to hit that, they're going to nail that on the head, because I know that, because they're the ones pushing this agenda. So when this comes out, this is going to be front page news. It's going to be all over the place. And I think you're going to get a lot of people wanting to do this. People applying for a temporary residency status in Russia, according to the new humanitarian scheme, would not need to show proof of Russian language, proficiency, or knowledge of Russian history and the country's laws. Now, that in itself, guys, the fact that normally to apply for a residency visa in Russia, you have to be able to speak the language, you have to be proficient in it, you have to know Russian history, and you have to know the country's laws. I'm not 100% sure that there's something like that in the United Kingdom. From my perspective and the optics of it from the United Kingdom, it's just, if you want to come and we'll give you free stuff. That's what it looks like if you're in the United Kingdom at the moment. I don't know what the background of it is. I've never had to apply for a United Kingdom visa yet, but that's where we go. Also, as well, from the same news outlet, I found this, guys. Where are we? So, Russia to build migrant village for conservative American expats. Now, that to me sounds like a detainment camp. Russian authorities will launch construction of a village outside Moscow for conservative-minded Americans and Canadians next year. The state-run RIA Novosti news agency can report. Russia, for years, I'm not going to read it, guys. I'll share it in the description. But what you can see there, guys, is what I suspect all along. If you want to move to Russia under this guise of, I want to escape the neoliberal agenda, I want to escape authoritarianism, you're going to be put in one of these new villages that will be heavily secured for your security. But the reality is they sound a little bit like detainment camps to me. So the question's simple. If you want to go and, and again, I understand the West has got huge problems. We really have got this neoliberal elite that seem to be ruling our countries and dictating what we do. You only have to look at the United Kingdom, which I think is the best example of how it goes wrong so quick. It seems here in the United Kingdom, every day there's something else and people are just like, wow, what else can go wrong? And then there'll be another announcement. Today there's more tax rises. And it's just absolutely wild, guys. Now, in the United Kingdom, I think it's such a shock to people because before the election, you had all the politicians in the United Kingdom saying, no, we won't raise taxes, we won't do this, we won't do that. And then as soon as they're elected, you've got Angela Rayner giving it big box, little box in Ibiza while she's raising taxes. So you can understand why people would want to escape the United Kingdom, and they would want to go and look at Russia. I'm sure there's people in the United States who are feeling the same. But guys, look at what's happening. If you move to Russia, you're going to be put in one of these new villages that kind of say detainment camp to me. Detainment camp maybe with Wi-Fi that's heavily monitored. What I think will happen, and I really do, guys, I think you'll get some people moving out there. I think there will be huge propaganda on that, and it will seem like it's awesome. You're left alone. You can do X, you can do Y. The Russians are awesome. They'll be pumping this propaganda. But the reality is, when those guys need to be closed down, they will be closed down, and that's just how these authoritarian states work. It really is. And, there's a lot of people wanting to do this. And my recommendation, and this is just my recommendation, guys, would be not to go to Russia. Because, one of the things I did a previous video about it, and I said, everybody was talking about, I did the video about the atrocities in the Ukraine invasion in the early days. Now, one of the things that people didn't see these things. I like to look in the details, One of the things that I noticed and I identified was some of the things that the Russian soldiers were stealing from Ukraine. And I wasn't throwing, I wasn't making light of any situation, and it may have come across that way. But what I was saying is, these soldiers, they were stealing things like toilets, like porcelain toilets. Porcelain sinks. They were stealing washing machines. Now, That says a lot about what life is like in everyday Russia. That says a lot about what life is like if you're not in one of those big cities, if you're not in Moscow, if you're not in St. Petersburg and other various big cities. So, you know, life in Russia is hard. Life in Russia is, it's very difficult, guys, all right? Out in the oblast areas, which would be, you know, away from the big towns, a bit away from the big cities, there's little to no infrastructure, and you know it would be very difficult for for somebody who's got Western values to move out there. Now, my question to you would be, what happens when you move to Russia and you've been in one of these detainment camps for 6 months, and then you know you've had all your propaganda, people have taken pictures of you smiling with your family, and then they need to put more people in there because they want more people to move in. Well, guess what? You're going to be identified for relocation to a new beautiful village, and then you'll just be sent out. You'll be put individually into one of these. And again, this is just my speculation. I don't know what Vladimir Putin's got in store for you. But it would be my speculation. You can look back historically. Putin moves people around quite often because if people move around, you don't have strong family ties to that area. You don't have an affinity with that area. You're broken. You're not loyal. You're loyal to the state. So what would happen is you're in this big you're in this big expat village, and then more people want to come. So what are they going to do? They're going to identify you to go and move into a new village. You're not going to have any choice about it. You're going to be moved, you and your family, to a village in the middle of nowhere with little to nothing. You're not going to be able to get out, and you're just going to be stuck in the middle of Russia, and you won't be able to leave the country. That's what I think will happen. Nobody will hear from you because you won't have internet access. You won't be able to speak to anyone, and you'll just, that'll be it. It'll be done. It'll be over. A new family will move in. They'll have pictures. They'll have propaganda for 6 months, and then you'll be moved on. Guys, I think it is the worst idea possible. If you want to know why, go and watch my video on subversion, ideological subversion, guys, because it is happening everywhere. Anyway, guys, that's it. I'm going back to grid, and I'll get you another video shortly on the more wild stuff that's happening. That seems every couple of hours now.